Before the sands of time buried her story, there was a queen who ruled with beauty, intelligence, and power. A woman who stood against empires, defied fate, and changed history forever. Her name still echoes through centuries. This is Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt. Cleopatra VII, the queen who defied Rome. Stay until the end, because her story is not what history told you. In the sprawling tapestry of history, some threads shine brighter than all others, weaving tales of power, ambition, and destiny. Among them, one name resonates through the millennia, a queen whose legend is as vast and enduring as the Nile itself, Cleopatra VII Philopator. Our story begins, not in myth, but in the year 69 BC, within the opulent heart of Alexandria, the jewel of the Ptolemaic kingdom. A princess is born, not of Egyptian blood, but of a Greek dynasty that had ruled the land of the pharaohs for nearly 3 centuries. This was the world that welcomed Cleopatra. From her earliest days, she was unlike any of her predecessors. The Ptolemaic court was a crucible of culture and intellect, and Cleopatra was forged in its fires. While others in her family focused on the trappings of power, she dedicated herself to the tools of rule. Imagine a young princess, her mind a sponge, absorbing knowledge from the greatest scholars of the age. She learned to speak an astonishing array of languages, not just her native Greek, but also the language of her people, Egyptian, a feat few in her dynasty had bothered to accomplish. She spoke to Parthians, Hebrews, Medes, and Arabs in their own tongues, a testament to her incredible intellect and diplomatic foresight. She wasn't just learning languages, she was learning people, their cultures, their motivations. Her education was a masterclass in statecraft. She devoured texts on philosophy, rhetoric, and astronomy, not as mere academic exercises, but as practical guides to governance. She understood that knowledge was power, and she armed herself with an arsenal of wisdom that would make her a formidable presence in any room, whether a royal court or a military war council. This was not a princess waiting to be rescued or married off for political gain. This was a future queen, meticulously preparing to command an empire. She was learning to navigate a world dominated by men, not by mimicking their brute force, but by outthinking, outmaneuvering, and outcharming them at every turn. But her path to the throne was anything but guaranteed. The Ptolemaic dynasty was infamous for its brutal and bloody internal conflicts. Sibling rivalries were not settled with arguments, but with poison and daggers. As a teenager, Cleopatra witnessed this firsthand. The air in the palace was thick with intrigue, every smile concealing a potential threat, every whisper a possible conspiracy. It was a treacherous environment that would have broken a lesser spirit, but for Cleopatra, it was a training ground. She learned to be cautious, to trust her instincts, and to recognize the shifting allegiances that defined her family's legacy of power. She learned survival. In 51 BC, when Cleopatra was just 18 years old, her father, Ptolemy XII Auletes, died. His will decreed that she should rule jointly with her younger brother, the 10-year-old Ptolemy XIII. In ancient Egypt, this role was tradition, but Cleopatra had no intention of being a mere figurehead. She was determined to rule in her own right, as the sole sovereign of Egypt. From the very beginning, she made her ambitions clear. She issued coins with her own image, omitting her brother's. She signed official documents with her name alone. These were not small acts of defiance. They were bold declarations of her intent to wield absolute power. This audacity, however, did not go unchallenged. A powerful faction of courtiers, loyal to her young brother, saw her as a threat. They plotted against her, stoking the flames of resentment and turning the palace into a viper's nest. They saw a woman reaching for power that, in their eyes, belonged to a man, a king. They whispered in the young king's ear, poisoning his mind against his sister. The tension escalated until the palace could no longer contain it. In a dramatic turn of events, Cleopatra was forced from Alexandria, exiled from her own kingdom. Betrayed and outnumbered, she found herself on the desolate border of Egypt, a queen without a throne. But this was not the end of her story. It was merely the end of the beginning. For Cleopatra, this exile was not a defeat, but a strategic retreat. Alone in the desert, she did not despair. She gathered her strength, rallied loyal forces, and planned her return. She knew that to reclaim her kingdom, she would need more than just an army. She would need a powerful ally, a force capable of tipping the scales of a civil war. As she looked across the Mediterranean, her gaze fell upon the rising eagle of the Roman Republic, a power whose shadow was already stretching across the known world. The stage was set for a new act, one that would entangle the fate of Egypt with the destiny of Rome itself. The year is 48 BC. The Roman world is in turmoil. Ripped apart by a civil war between two of its greatest generals, Pompey the Great and Julius Caesar. After a decisive defeat, Pompey flees to Egypt, seeking refuge. The court of the young Ptolemy XIII, seeing an opportunity, makes a fatal miscalculation. They assassinate Pompey, hoping to curry favor with a victorious Caesar. But when Caesar arrives in Alexandria, he is not pleased. He is enraged. He saw this act not as a gift, but as an insult to Roman honor. And into this volatile, high-stakes political storm, Cleopatra saw her chance. She knew a direct approach to Caesar was impossible, as Alexandria was controlled by her brother's forces. So, she devised one of the most audacious and legendary entrances in history. According to the historian Plutarch, she had herself secretly smuggled into the palace, concealed within a roll of bedding or a carpet. Imagine the scene. The most powerful man in the world, Julius Caesar, is in his quarters when a servant unrolls a bundle at his feet, and from it emerges not a simple gift, but the exiled queen of Egypt herself. It was a move of breathtaking boldness and theatrical genius. In that single moment, she captured Caesar's undivided attention. This was no mere romantic encounter. It was a masterstroke of political diplomacy. Cleopatra presented herself not as a supplicant, but as the rightful ruler of Egypt, a valuable and intelligent ally. Caesar, a shrewd judge of character, was captivated not just by her famed charm, but by her sharp intellect, her political acumen, and her unwavering determination. He saw in her a partner, someone who could help stabilize Egypt and secure it as a vital resource for Rome. He sided with her, and in the brief, intense Alexandrian war that followed, Caesar's legions defeated the forces of Ptolemy XIII. Her brother drowned in the Nile while trying to flee. And Cleopatra, with Rome's backing, was restored to her throne. Her alliance with Caesar was sealed, and it bore a son, Caesarion, whom she declared his heir and the future of a new, powerful Egyptian dynasty. But the winds of fate are ever shifting. On the Ides of March, 44 BC, Julius Caesar was assassinated in Rome, and Cleopatra's world was once again thrown into chaos. Her protector was gone, and Rome was plunged into another brutal civil war. She had to navigate a treacherous new political landscape, one dominated by Caesar's assassins on one side and his avengers, Mark Antony and Octavian, on the other. Once again, Cleopatra had to choose an ally. She chose Mark Antony, Caesar's most loyal general and a man who now controlled the eastern half of the Roman Republic. Their meeting in Tarsus in 41 BC is as legendary as her arrival in Caesar's carpet. Antony summoned her to answer for her supposed support of his enemies. Instead of arriving as a queen, Cleopatra sailed up the river Kidnus in a magnificent golden barge. Dressed as the goddess Venus, surrounded by attendants, she didn't just answer Antony's summons. She staged a spectacle of such overwhelming wealth, power, and allure that Antony was utterly spellbound. Their political alliance quickly blossomed into one of history's most famous love affairs. They were a true power couple, bound by mutual ambition and genuine affection. Together, they ruled the East, had 3 children, and dreamt of a shared empire, a new world order with Alexandria as its capital. This grand vision, however, placed them on a direct collision course with Antony's rival in Rome, the cold, calculating Octavian. In Rome, Octavian launched a masterful propaganda campaign, painting Antony as a man bewitched by a foreign queen, a traitor abandoning his Roman heritage. He portrayed Cleopatra as a dangerous, decadent seductress who sought to conquer Rome itself. The tension between the two halves of the Republic finally erupted into open war. The final decisive confrontation came in 31 BC, at the naval battle of Actium. It was a disaster for Antony and Cleopatra. Their fleet was outmaneuvered and destroyed. They managed to escape and flee back to Egypt, but their cause was lost. Octavian's legions followed, and in the summer of 30 BC, they stood at the gates of Alexandria. Antony, hearing a false report of Cleopatra's death, fell on his own sword. He was brought to Cleopatra's mausoleum, where he died in her arms. Left alone, defeated, and facing the humiliation of being paraded through Rome in Octavian's triumph, Cleopatra made her final choice. She would not be a captive. According to legend, she committed suicide, allowing an asp, a symbol of divine royalty, to deliver its fatal bite. On August 12, 30 BC, at the age of 39, the last queen of Egypt died. With her death, the Ptolemaic dynasty ended, and 3,000 years of Egyptian independence vanished. Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire, its vast wealth now flowing into Octavian's coffers. The story of the pharaohs was over. Cleopatra's legacy is a complex one, often shrouded in Roman propaganda that painted her as a temptress. But she was so much more. She was a brilliant and multilingual scholar, a shrewd political strategist, capable ruler, and a mother who fought fiercely to secure a future for her children and her kingdom. She was the last great ruler of an independent Egypt, a woman who dared to challenge the might of Rome and, for a time, hold destiny in her hands. Her life was a testament to ambition, intellect, and the unyielding will to rule. And though her kingdom fell, her name has echoed through eternity. A timeless symbol of a queen who was, in every sense, truly legendary. Thank you for joining us on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more tales from history, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update.